The desert air shimmered like a mirage as the elite sniper unit gathered at Desert Eagle testing facility. Recruits and instructors alike watched in disgust as Sergeant Davis sneered at Private Sophia Carter, the only woman in the advanced ballistics program. "Hold this rifle for the men, sweetheart," he barked, drawing snickers from his cronies. "And don't touch anything. That scope costs more than your entire training program." What Sergeant Davis didn't know was about to change everything at Desert Eagle forever. Welcome to those who left a trace. If this story of an underestimated soldier proving everyone wrong resonates with you, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We bring you incredible true stories of courage, determination, and justice served. Drop a comment below telling us where in the world you're watching from. We love connecting with our global audience. Sophia Carter never planned on becoming a military legend. Growing up in a small town in Wyoming, she was just a quiet girl whose father taught her to hunt before she could properly tie her shoes. By age 12, she could hit a deer's vital organs from distances that made grown men whistle in appreciation. Her bedroom wall wasn't covered with boy band posters, but with shooting competition medals and records of her longest confirmed hits. "Daddy, I hit the target at 800 yards a day," she'd announce at dinner, while her mother would just shake her head and smile. "That's my girl," her father would reply, a retired Army Ranger who recognized a natural talent in his daughter's steady hands and eagle eyes. High school came and went without much fanfare. While other girls worry about prom dates and college applications, Sophia focused on something else entirely. The local shooting range became her second home. The owner, a Vietnam veteran named Mr. Thompson, took her under his wing. "You've got a gift, kid," he told her one evening as she packed up her gear. The kind of gift the military would kill for. Those words stuck with her. When the recruiters came to her high school, Sophia was the first in line. The recruiter's eyes widened when he saw her shooting scores on the preliminary tests. "Ma'am, with scores like these, you could write your own ticket." But Sophia didn't want just any ticket. She wanted to be where the elite shooters trained, where the best of the best were forged in a crucible of military excellence. Basic training was just that, basic for someone with her skills. While others struggled with marksmanship qualifications, Sophia breezed through them with a calm demeanor that unsettled even her instructors. "Carter, have you done this before?" her drill sergeant asked after she hit 10 bullseyes in rapid succession. "No, sir, just taught right by my dad." Her personnel file quickly gained attention. Advanced marksmanship training, sniper school recommendations, fast track for specialized weapon systems training. And now, at 24 years old, Private Sophia Carter stood in the scorching heat of Desert Eagle, holding a next-generation precision rifle that she understood better than the men who designed it, while being treated like a glorified coat rack by Sergeant Davis. Little did anyone know that this day would mark not just a new record in military shooting history, but the beginning of a legend born from disrespect and about to be written in the stunned silence of those who underestimated the quiet girl from Wyoming. The Desert Eagle testing facility sprawled across 50 square miles of unforgiving desert terrain. It was where the military's most advanced weapon systems came to prove themselves or fail spectacularly. The newest generation of precision rifles, the XM-29 Longshot, was today's star attraction. "Listen up, people." Captain Roberts addressed a gathered group of 12 testing personnel and 3 observers, including Sophia. "This rifle represents a $40 million investment. We need clean data on its performance envelope under desert conditions." Sergeant Davis stepped forward, chest puffed out like a peacock. "I'll be handling primary test firing today. Targets are set at progressive distances from 1,000 to 3,000 meters. His eyes settled on Sophia with undisguised contempt. "Carter, you're here as an observer only. Your job is to hold equipment when told and stay out of the way. Clear. Crystal clear, Sergeant, Sophia responded, her voice steady despite the burning in her cheeks. The morning progressed with a series of test fires. The new rifle performed well at conventional distances, but as the targets moved beyond 2,500 meters, problems emerged. The desert heat created mirage effects that the computer-assisted scope couldn't fully compensate for. Damn it! Davis cursed after his third consecutive miss at 2,250 meters. The atmospheric distortion is playing havoc with the targeting system. Captain Roberts frowned at his clipboard. We need at least one confirmed hit at maximum range to complete today's dataset. While the men huddled around technical readouts and adjustment calculations, Sophia quietly observed the wind flags, the heat waves, the slight dust devils that formed and dissipated across the range. Her mind calculated windage adjustments and bullet drop compensations automatically, a talent she'd honed since childhood. During a water break, Davis thrust the rifle into Sophia's hands. Hold this. Don't mess with it. As she stood there, supposedly just a human equipment stand, Sophia's fingers gently traced the contours of the weapon. Her mind registered the balance point, the trigger pull weight, the subtle ways it differed from standard-issue rifles. What are you doing? Davis snapped, catching her examining the scope adjustments. Nothing, Sergeant. Just holding it as instructed. You think you could do better? He sneered loud enough for everyone to hear. Little Miss Wyoming thinks she can outshoot Special Forces qualified marksmen. The group turned to watch the confrontation, sensing entertainment in the making. I didn't say that, Sergeant, Sophia replied evenly. Well, I'm saying it. Davis pushed. You've been giving me looks all day like you know something we don't. So enlighten us, Private. What's your professional opinion? Captain Roberts intervened. Davis, that's enough. No, sir, with respect. Davis continued. If she's got insights, we should hear them. This is a testing environment after all. All eyes turned to Sophia. The trap was obvious. Speak up and be ridiculed, or stay silent and accept her place. The scope calibration is fighting against the computer compensation, she said quietly. They're canceling each other out. The silence was immediate and heavy. Excuse me. Davis's voice dropped dangerously low. The manual adjustments you're making are being read by the system as errors, so it's auto-correcting in the wrong direction, Sophia explained. You need to either go fully manual or fully automated, not half and half. Davis's face contorted with rage. 15 years in Special Forces, and now I'm getting shooting advice from a supply clerk with tits. Sergeant, Captain Roberts barked. That is completely inappropriate. But Davis was on a roll, stepping closer, Sophia. You think because Daddy taught you to shoot Bambi back home, you understand ballistic trajectory and combat conditions? You think you can outshoot men who made confirmed kills from distances you can't even comprehend? Sophia didn't flinch. No, Sergeant, You were just forgetting your place. Davis cut her off. You're here because some diversity quota needed filling, not because you belong. The next time you have an opinion about marksmanship, do us all a favor and keep it to yourself. The air around them seemed to vibrate with tension. Several personnel looked away, uncomfortable with Davis's outburst, but unwilling to challenge him. That's enough. Captain Roberts stepped between them. Let's get back to work. We still need that long-distance confirmation. As they returned to the firing line, Davis deliberately bumped Sophia's shoulder as he passed. This is men's work, sweetheart. Try not to break a nail holding that clipboard. Sophia absorbed the humiliation in silence, her green eyes tracking the distant target that none of them had been able to hit. In her mind, calculations were already forming: wind speed, temperature, barometric pressure, Earth's rotation at this latitude, all the factors that made extreme long-distance shooting as much art as science. The afternoon sun beat down mercilessly as the testing team prepared for their final attempts. Target 7 Alpha, positioned at exactly 2,950 meters, remained mockingly intact after multiple attempts to hit it. The small reflective panel, barely visible even through high-powered optics, represented the absolute maximum effective range of the new XM-29 rifle. "Final attempt before we pack it in," Captain Roberts announced, checking his watch. "The brass wants results today, people." Sergeant Davis wiped sweat from his brow and took position behind the rifle once more. His previous 5 shots had all missed, each one making his mood darker. The technical team hovered around him, making minute adjustments to the scope and offering suggestions that were increasingly met with profanity. "The targeting algorithm needs recalibration," one technician suggested timidly. "What it needs is a shooter who isn't getting heat stroke." Another whispered just out of Davis's earshot. Sophia stood to the side, clipboard in hand, recording data as instructed, but her eyes kept darting between the target area, the wind flags, and the mirage waves visible through the spotting scope. Something was off in their calculations. Something fundamental. Davis fired again. "Miss! Son of a—" He cut himself off, aware of the captain's presence. The scope must be defective. The technical lead shook his head. The scope is operating within parameters. Environmental factors are just at the extreme edge of its compensation abilities. "One more try," Captain Roberts said firmly. "Then we document the current limitations and recalibrate tomorrow." As Davis prepared for his final attempt, Sophia noticed something none of the others had, a subtle shift in the air currents. The heat rising from the valley floor was creating a spiraling effect, visible only if you knew exactly what to look for in the way light bent through different temperature gradients. Davis fired. Another miss. "That's it," Captain Roberts said. "Pack it up. We'll try again at 0600 tomorrow, when conditions are cooler." The team began breaking down equipment, disappointment evident in their slumped shoulders and quiet murmuring. Davis handed the rifle to a technician, who began securing it in its case. Something snapped inside Sophia. All day she'd endured Davis's contempt, his belittling comments, his assumption that her gender made her incapable of understanding the very skills she'd mastered since childhood. Without fully processing the consequences, she stepped forward. "Captain Roberts, sir, request permission to attempt one shot." The entire team froze. Davis turned slowly, his face a mask of disbelief. "Excuse me, Private?" Captain Roberts asked, clearly surprised. "One shot, sir, at the target." Davis's laugh was sharp and cruel. "Are you serious right now? You want to try what 5 Special Forces qualified shooters couldn't do?" Sophia met his gaze evenly. "One shot. If I miss, I'll accept any disciplinary action for wasting time and ammunition." The technical team exchanged glances. One of them, Dr. Winters, stepped forward. "Sir, from a pure research perspective, additional data points can't hurt." Captain Roberts considered this for a moment, then shrugged. "We've already documented today as unsuccessful. One more failed attempt doesn't change that." He turned to Sophia. "One shot, Carter. Make it count." "This ought to be good," Davis sneered, folding his arms. "Let's see Little Miss Wyoming embarrass herself." The technician hesitated, then handed the rifle to Sophia. It felt perfectly balanced in her hands, like an extension of her body. She approached the firing position with methodical calm. Instead of immediately lying down behind the rifle, Sophia spent nearly a minute just observing the range. She licked her finger and held it up, feeling the subtle air currents. She studied the mirage effect through the spotting scope. She noted how the dust devils formed and dissipated across the valley floor. Today, Private. Davis called out impatiently. Sophia ignored him. She made 3 small adjustments to the rifle's scope, disengaged the computer assistance entirely, and finally took her position. What's she doing? One technician whispered to another. She's disabled all the advanced features. Going old school, the other replied with newfound interest. Sophia's breathing slowed. The world around her faded away. No Davis, no Captain Roberts, no pressure. Just her, the rifle and the target. Just like hunting with her father in the Wyoming wilderness. She tracked the subtle movements of air and heat, waiting for the perfect moment. The brief window when all conditions aligned. She inhaled slowly, held it, then released half her breath and squeezed the trigger. The rifle's report echoed across the desert. For 3 agonizing seconds, nothing happened. Then, through the spotting scope, a small puff of dust erupted from exactly where Target 7 Alpha stood. "Holy!" someone whispered. The range computer beeped. Targeted confirmation flashed across the screen. 2,950 meters, Dr. Winters read aloud, his voice tinged with disbelief. First round hit. No computer assistance. All eyes turned to Sophia, who calmly safed the weapon and stood up. Captain Roberts was the first to break the stunned silence. How? How did you do that, Private? Before she could answer, the radio crackled. Range control to testing Group Alpha. Confirm hit on Target 7 Alpha. Repeat confirm hit. Target sensors show complete destruction. Davis's face had drained of all color. His mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. The technical team was already crowding around Sophia, peppering her with questions about her methodology. I just read the wind, she said simply, and accounted for the spiraling thermal effect in the valley. The computer can't see it, but a human eye can. Captain Roberts was already on his phone, speaking rapidly to someone in command. Sir, you're not going to believe this, but we have a situation here you need to know about immediately. Dr. Winters approached Sophia with newfound respect in his eyes. Private Carter, that shot shouldn't have been possible. Not with current technology. Not with current training protocols. What you just did defies statistical probability. Sophia allowed herself the smallest of smiles. Not if you grew up shooting in Wyoming mountain valleys, sir. Wind does funny things between peaks. You learn to see it, or you go home hungry. As the team bustled around her, gathering data and taking statements, Sophia caught Davis's eye across the range. The sergeant stood alone, his earlier bravado replaced by something that looked remarkably like fear. He realized, perhaps for the first time, that he had just been publicly outperformed, not by another man, not by another Special Forces operator, but by the very woman he'd spent all day belittling. And everyone had witnessed it. Word spread through Desert Eagle testing facility like wildfire. By nightfall, what Sophia had done was already becoming the stuff of legends, embellished with each retelling. By morning, the story had reached command headquarters. Sophia sat alone in the mess hall the following day, aware of the stares and whispers around her. Overnight, she had gone from invisible to infamous. She focused on her breakfast, trying to ignore the attention. A shadow fell across her tray. Looking up, she found Captain Roberts standing there with a stone-faced colonel she didn't recognize. Private Carter, Captain Roberts said formally. This is Colonel Wagner, Director of Advanced Weapons Development for the Army Marksmanship Unit. Sophia jumped to her feet and saluted. Sir, at ease, Private, Colonel Wagner said, studying her with intense interest. Mind if we join you? They sat across from her. Colonel Wagner placed a folder on the table between them. I've reviewed the data from yesterday, he said without preamble, and I've spoken with several witnesses. I have one question. Was that shot luck, Private Carter? Sophia met his gaze directly. No, sir. Could you repeat it? Yes, sir. Given similar conditions. Colonel Wagner nodded slowly. The shot you made yesterday broke the standing record for first-round hit precision on our ranges. The previous record was held by Master Sergeant James Harding, 3-tour combat veteran and Olympic alternate. Sophia absorbed this information in silence. The computer analysis suggests what you did should have been technically impossible without advanced computational assistance. Wagner continued. Yet you disabled those very systems before taking the shot. They were overcompensating, sir, Sophia explained. The algorithms are designed for standard conditions, not the thermal vortex effect that happens in that particular valley. Wagner exchanged glances with Roberts. And how exactly did you know about this thermal vortex effect? I observed it, sir. It's similar to conditions in mountain valleys back home. You can see it in how the heat distorts light at different elevations. Wagner leaned back, clearly impressed. Private, I've been shooting for 30 years, including 2 Olympic trials. I've never heard anyone describe reading mirage patterns that way. A commotion at the mess hall entrance drew their attention. Sergeant Davis had arrived with his usual entourage, but stopped short when he spotted Sophia with the officers. His face darkened. I believe you've created quite a situation, Private, Colonel Wagner noted, following her gaze. Sergeant Davis has filed a complaint. Sophia's stomach dropped. A complaint, sir? Yes. He claims you violated protocol by interfering with a controlled test environment, that your actions were insubordinate and endangered the project's integrity. Captain Roberts couldn't hide his disgust. It's nonsense, of course. He's just trying to save face. What happens now, sir? Sophia asked quietly. Colonel Wagner smiled for the first time. Now we deal with Sergeant Davis's fragile ego. He stood up. Captain Roberts, please escort Private Carter to conference room A. There are some people from Fort Bragg who are very eager to meet her. As they walked through the mess hall, Davis deliberately stepped into their path. Sir, he addressed Colonel Wagner, ignoring Sophia completely. I wasn't aware you'd be on base today. I prepared a full report on yesterday's testing irregularities. Have you now? Wagner's voice turned cold. That's very proactive of you, Sergeant. Yes, sir. The unauthorized firing of experimental hardware by unqualified personnel is a serious breach of... Wagner cut him off. Sergeant Davis, do you know who I am? Davis blinked in confusion. Yes, sir. You're the Director of Advanced Weapons Development. And do you know why I flew here at 0400 this morning on a priority transport? I assumed it was about the incident, sir. Correct. I'm here because Private Carter just accomplished what your entire team failed to do after multiple attempts. She demonstrated a level of marksmanship skill that, quite frankly, makes your own abilities look rudimentary by comparison. The mess hall had gone completely silent, every ear straining to hear the conversation. But sir, she what, Sergeant? She made you look bad? She proved that your assessment of her abilities was not just wrong, but embarrassingly so? She demonstrated that your constant belittling of her was based on nothing but your own prejudice. Davis's face flushed deep red. Report to my office at 0900, Sergeant. Wagner said coldly. We'll discuss your complaint in detail, along with the multiple violations of conduct code I personally witnessed yesterday via the range cameras. Dismissed. Davis stood frozen for a moment, then executed a stiff salute and walked away, his cronies suddenly finding reasons to be elsewhere. As they continued toward the conference room, Captain Roberts couldn't hide his smile. I've waited 3 years to see someone put Davis in his place. Is he always like that? Sophia asked. Worse, Roberts replied. He's been riding on his special forces reputation for years, intimidating everyone around him. But yesterday, Roberts actually chuckled. Yesterday, you broke more than just a shooting record. They reached the conference room door. Inside, Sophia could see several high-ranking officers and civilian specialists gathered around a table. They've been reviewing your personnel file all morning, Captain Robert said. Everything from your entrance exams to your firearms qualifications. Why, sir? Colonel Wagner answered from behind them. Because, Private Carter, the Army Marksmanship Unit doesn't often find natural talents of your caliber. What you did yesterday wasn't just impressive. It was historic. As they entered the room, Sophia felt her world shifting beneath her feet. Whatever happened next, she knew one thing for certain. Sergeant Davis would never again dismiss her as just a girl with a clipboard. The conference room fell silent as Sophia entered. 6 pairs of eyes tracked her movement, evaluating, assessing, measuring. A long table dominated the space, covered with folders, laptops, and what appeared to be her personnel files. Private Carter, reporting as ordered, sir, she said, standing at attention. A silver-haired general at the head of the table nodded. At ease, Private. I'm General Hawkins. These are representatives from various special programs within the Army's advanced training divisions. Sophia relaxed marginally, noting the mixture of military and civilian personnel. One woman in particular, wearing a tailored suit rather than a uniform, watched her with undisguised interest. Please sit down, General Hawkins instructed. As Sophia took a seat, he continued, What you did yesterday has created quite a stir in certain circles. Private Carter, a shot at that distance without computer assistance. On the first attempt, it's unprecedented. Thank you, sir, Sophia replied simply. That wasn't a compliment, he clarified. It was a statement of fact. What we need to determine now is whether it was skill or luck. The civilian woman spoke up. My analysis suggests skill. Her marksmanship scores throughout training have been consistently in the top percentile. This isn't an outlier, it's a pattern. Dr. Shepard oversees our advanced sniper development program, General Hawkins explained. She believes you may have natural talents that our current training protocols aren't designed to identify. Dr. Shepard nodded. Private Carter, can you explain how you made that shot in your own words? Sophia took a deep breath. The computer systems on a rifle are designed for standard atmospheric conditions. They can compensate for known variables, wind speed, temperature, humidity, elevation, but they can't detect complex air current patterns that create what my father called wind rivers. Streams of air moving at different speeds and directions at different elevations. The room was silent as she continued. Yesterday, there was a thermal inversion creating a spiral effect in the valley. You could see it if you knew what to look for, the way the heat waves bent light differently at varying heights. The computer was averaging these effects, which meant every shot was slightly off. By disabling the system and adjusting manually, I could account for the actual conditions rather than what the computer thought the conditions were. One of the military officers leaned forward. And how exactly did you learn to read these wind rivers? My father, sir, he was a Marine Scout sniper in Desert Storm. He taught me to hunt in the Wyoming mountains where these conditions are common. If you can't read the air currents correctly, you miss your shot and go home hungry. Dr. Shepard's eyes lit up. That's exactly what I suspected. You've developed an intuitive understanding of complex ballistics that our current systems can't match. It's not that the technology is bad. It's that you're perceiving things the technology can't. Before Sophia could respond, the door burst open. Sergeant Davis stormed in, followed closely by a flustered administrative assistant. I'm sorry, sir. The assistant addressed General Hawkins. He insisted. That's all right. The general waved her off, his expression hardening as he regarded Davis. Sergeant, this is a closed meeting. Davis's face was flushed with barely controlled anger. With respect, sir, I need to address the situation before it goes any further. Private Carter violated direct orders and testing protocols. She's being celebrated for insubordination, and it sets a dangerous precedent. The room temperature seemed to drop several degrees. General Hawkins's voice was dangerously calm. Sergeant Davis, are you suggesting that I don't understand military protocol? Davis faltered slightly. No, sir, but because it seems to me, the general continued, that you're interrupting a meeting of senior officers without permission or invitation. That, sergeant, is the very definition of insubordination. Davis's jaw clenched. Sir, I'm just trying to ensure proper procedures are followed. Private Carter is being given special treatment because she accomplished what you couldn't. Dr. Shepard interjected, her tone icy. Because she demonstrated skills that make your own abilities appear mediocre by comparison. She got lucky. Davis exploded. One lucky shot, and suddenly everyone's acting like she's some kind of prodigy. She's a supply clerk who outshot specialized marksmen while they watched. Colonel Wagner finished, entering the room behind Davis, who demonstrated an innate understanding of complex ballistics that our current systems can't match. Who, according to her file, has consistently scored in the top percentile of every marksmanship test she's ever taken. Davis turned to face Wagner, his expression darkening. Sir, with all due respect, this is still a disciplinary issue. She disobeyed direct orders. No, she didn't, Captain Roberts interrupted, also entering the room. I gave her permission to take that shot as the officer in charge of that testing session. It was my call to make. Davis looked around the room, suddenly realizing he was surrounded by people who weren't buying his narrative. His eyes narrowed as they settled back on Sophia. This isn't over, Private, he said quietly. You've made a fool of the wrong person. That's enough, Sergeant. General Hawkins stood. You're dismissed. Report to Colonel Wagner's office immediately. We'll address your conduct there. For a moment, it seemed Davis might refuse. Then military discipline reasserted itself. He snapped to attention, executed a perfect about-face, and marched out, radiating fury with every step. As the door closed behind him, Dr. Shepard looked at Sophia with newfound respect. You've certainly stirred up the hornet's nest, Private Carter. I didn't mean to, ma'am, Sophia replied honestly. I just knew I could make the shot. General Hawkins retook his seat. Well, Private, that confidence and the skill to back it up has opened some very interesting doors for you. He slid a folder across the table. What do you know about the Army Marksmanship Unit's precision shooting team? Sophia's eyes widened. They're the elite of the elite, sir. Olympic-level shooters, the best in the world. Yes, they are, he agreed. And they're about to begin their selection course for new members next week at Fort Bragg. The implications hit Sophia like a physical force. Sir, are you saying... I'm saying, Private Carter, that sometimes one shot can change the trajectory of a career. He gestured to the folder. Your orders, you ship out tomorrow morning. As the reality sank in, Sophia couldn't help but think about the journey that had led her here. From a daughter learning her father's skills in the mountains of Wyoming, to sitting in this room full of senior officers who were now looking at her not as a supply clerk, but as a potential elite shooter. And somewhere in the building, Sergeant Davis was discovering that his attempts to diminish her had only served to elevate her to heights he could never reach. The military transport plane touched down at Fort Bragg with a gentle bump. As Sophia descended the stairs onto the tarmac, the North Carolina humidity hit her like a wet blanket, a stark contrast to the dry desert heat of Desert Eagle. A staff sergeant waited beside a modest military SUV, holding a sign with her name. Private Carter, he called as she approached. Staff Sergeant Wilson. I'll be taking you to the AMU facilities. The Army Marksmanship Unit's compound was separate from the main areas of Fort Bragg, set back in a wooded area with its own ranges and training facilities. As they drove, Staff Sergeant Wilson filled the silence. Word of your shot has already made the rounds here, he said, glancing at her in the rear-view mirror. 2,950 meters. First attempt, no computer assist. That true? Yes, Sergeant, Sophia replied simply. He whistled. You're walking into a hornet's nest of ego and competition. Fair warning. Not everyone's going to welcome you with open arms. I'm used to that, Sergeant. Wilson nodded. I bet you are. The AMU headquarters was a modern building surrounded by specialized shooting ranges. As they pulled up, Sophia noticed a group of soldiers watching their arrival with undisguised curiosity. All men, all wearing the distinctive badges that marked them as competition shooters. Your audience awaits, Wilson muttered as he parked. Inside, Sophia was led to a conference room where 3 officers waited. The oldest, a lean colonel with sharp eyes, stepped forward. Private Carter, I'm Colonel Davis, commander of the Army Marksmanship Unit. This is Major Peterson and Captain Grant, our head coaches for long-range precision disciplines. Sophia saluted crisply. Private Carter reporting as ordered, sir. At ease, Colonel Davis said, gesturing to a chair. Let's cut to the chase. Your shot at Desert Eagle has created quite a stir. Some say it was impossible. Others say it was luck. What do you say? I say I can do it again, sir, Sophia replied without hesitation. The 3 officers exchanged glances. Major Peterson leaned forward. Bold claim, Private. Our qualification course starts tomorrow, but I'm curious. How would you feel about a little demonstration this afternoon? I'm ready whenever you are, sir. Captain Grant smiled for the first time. I like her already. 2 hours later, Sophia found herself on the AMU's long-range precision course. Word had spread quickly, and a crowd of AMU shooters and staff had gathered to watch. The target was set at 1,500 meters, challenging, but well within the capabilities of elite marksmen. Standard qualification drill. Major Peterson explained. 5 shots, best grouping wins. You'll be shooting against Staff Sergeant Brooks, our current long-range champion. Brooks stepped forward, tall, muscular, with the confident bearing of someone used to being the best. He looked Sophia up and down with thinly veiled skepticism. Ladies first, he said with exaggerated politeness. Sophia ignored the bait and took her position behind the rifle, a familiar M110 SAS rather than the experimental model from Desert Eagle. She took a moment to feel the subtle breeze, noting how it shifted direction as it moved through the trees surrounding the range. 5 shots, 5 hits, all within a 2-inch grouping. When she stood up, the murmurs from the watching crowd told her she'd made an impression. Brooks looked less confident as he took his turn. His first 4 shots matched Sophia's performance. As he prepared for his final shot, a sudden gust of wind swept across the range, the kind of variable that separated good shooters from great ones. Brooks hesitated, recalculated, and fired. His 5th shot landed just outside his previous grouping. Private Carter wins a round, Major Peterson announced, unable to hide his surprise. Brooks stood up, his expression unreadable. Lucky win call. Sophia couldn't help herself. That crosswind was visible in the tree line 30 seconds before it hit the range. The leaves on the east side were already moving. Brooks stared at her, then at the distant tree line. Slowly, begrudging respect dawned in his eyes. You saw that from here? Situational awareness, Sophia said with a slight shrug. My father taught me to watch everything, not just the target. Your father must be one hell of a shooter. He was, Sophia said quietly, Marine Scout Sniper. He passed away 3 years ago. Something changed in Brooks's demeanor. Tim Carter? Fallujah? Sophia's eyes widened. You knew my father? Knew of him, Brooks corrected. His shot at the Fallujah Hotel is legendary. 1,800 meters through crosswinds that grounded helicopters that day. He extended his hand. Didn't make the connection until now. You're Tim Carter's daughter. As they shook hands, The atmosphere around them shifted perceptibly. What had begun as a test, an outsider trying to prove herself, had transformed into something else entirely. She wasn't just some lucky private anymore. She was a daughter of a legend, carrying on a legacy. The next morning, qualification courses began in earnest. 20 shooters competing for 3 spots on the AMU's precision team. The tests were grueling. Shooting from unstable platforms, after physical exertion, under simulated stress conditions, with limited time, in challenging environmental conditions. Day by day, competitors were eliminated. Day by day, Sophia remained. By the final day, only 5 remained. Sophia, Brooks, and 3 other experienced shooters with multiple competition wins under their belts. The final test was announced. Extreme long-distance precision under combat conditions. Target at 2,100 meters, Colonel Davis announced, after running a half-mile with full gear. Shot must be taken within 30 seconds of arrival at the firing position. 1 shot, 1 hit. As they prepared, Brooks fell in beside Sophia. You know they designed this final test because of you, right? They want to see if Desert Eagle was reproducible. Sophia nodded. I know. The guys are calling you One-Shot Carter behind your back, he added with a grin. No pressure. When her turn came, Sophia ran the course with mechanical precision. Arriving at the firing position, breath heaving, she dropped into position. 28 seconds remaining. The world narrowed to the rifle, the wind, and the distant target. In that moment, she felt her father's presence, his teachings, his patience, his belief in her abilities. She fired. Hit. As the confirmation came through, cheers erupted from the observation area. Sophia rose to her feet to find Colonel Davis approaching with an outstretched hand. Congratulations, Private Carter. Or should I say, Specialist Carter. Your promotion paperwork is already processed. Behind him, even the most skeptical AMU veterans were applauding. In 1 week, she had gone from dismissed observer to respected peer. That evening, as she packed her newly issued AMU gear, a notification pinged on her phone. It was an email from Desert Eagle Testing Facility, specifically from Captain Roberts. Thought you want to know? It read, Sergeant Davis has been reassigned to equipment inventory at Fort Stewart. Apparently, his expertise was deemed more valuable in counting bullets than firing them. Your former colleague sent us video from his going-away party. The attached clip showed Davis's former teammates mockingly presenting him with a custom coffee mug. As the camera zoomed in, Sophia could read the inscription, Outshot by a Girl. Justice, it seemed, came in many forms. 6 months passed in a blur of intense training, competition, and rapid advancement. Specialist Sophia Carter had become a fixture at the Army Marksmanship Unit, racking up wins in internal competitions and setting new standards in training exercises. Her natural talent, honed by rigorous practice, had blossomed under professional coaching. On a crisp autumn morning, Sophia found herself summoned to Colonel Davis's office. As she entered, she was surprised to find not only the colonel, but also 2 men in civilian attire, their bearing unmistakably military despite their business suits. Specialist Carter reporting as ordered, sir, she said, saluting. At ease, Specialist, Colonel Davis replied. These gentlemen are from JSOC Joint Special Operations Command. They've been following your progress with great interest. The older of the 2 men, silver-haired with penetrating blue eyes, extended his hand. Richard Keller. This is my colleague, Mark Dawson. We've been impressed with your record here. Sophia shook their hands, feeling a strange tension in the room. Thank you, sir. Keller got straight to the point. How familiar are you with Task Force Sierra, Specialist? Sophia's pulse quickened. Task Force Sierra was whispered about even among elite military circles, a specialized unit that handled the most sensitive long-range precision operations. Their missions were classified at the highest levels. Only by reputation, sir. Good. Then you understand the level of discretion required. Keller nodded to Colonel Davis, who slid a folder across his desk toward Sophia. Task Force Sierra is assembling a specialized team for a high-priority operation, Keller continued. Your unique abilities have been specifically requested. This isn't standard AMU competition work. This is operational deployment. Sophia opened the folder. Inside was a transfer order with most details redacted and a brief mission outline that sent a chill down her spine. Operation Mountain Shadow. Target: acquisition and elimination at extreme range. Estimated deployment: 72 hours. Location: classified. Risk assessment: high. This is... Sophia began, struggling to find words. Not a training exercise. Dawson spoke for the first time. This is real-world application of your skills. Specialist. The mission requires someone who can make an impossible shot in unpredictable mountain conditions. Someone like you. The assignment is completely voluntary. Carter. Colonel Davis leaned forward. Your place here at AMU is secure regardless of your decision. Sophia stared at the papers, thinking of her father. How many times had he been called for missions like this? How many times had he sat across from men like Keller and Dawson, being asked to do things that would never appear in any official record? When do I leave, sir? She asked without hesitation. Immediately, Keller replied. Pack light. Everything you need will be provided at the staging area. 24 hours later, Sophia found herself on a military transport headed to an undisclosed location, surrounded by 6 operators from Task Force Sierra. Unlike the competitive world of AMU, these men move with the quiet efficiency of predators. Minimal words, maximum awareness. Their team leader, Captain Harris, briefed them during the flight. Our target is Alexander Volkov, arms dealer supplying terrorist cells across 3 continents. He thinks he's safe in his mountain compound, surrounded by guards, protected by extreme terrain. Intelligence indicates he'll be on site for only 36 hours. Satellite imagery appeared on the screen. A luxurious compound nestled in a mountain valley, surrounded by peaks on all sides. Previous attempts at close-quarters elimination have failed. Too many guards, too many escape routes. We need a single shot from outside a security perimeter. Harris pointed to a distant ridgeline. That means a fire in position here, with a shot distance of approximately 2,800 meters through variable mountain wind conditions. One of the operators whistled. That's right at the edge of possible, Cap. That's why we have Specialist Carter, Harris replied, nodding toward Sophia. Her shot at Desert Eagle proved this is within her capabilities. The team sniper, Master Sergeant Wheeler, studied Sophia with narrowed eyes. With all due respect, sir, controlled range conditions are one thing. Combat deployment is another. Has she even been tested under pressure? I have, Sophia said quietly. Just not the kind you're thinking of. Wheeler raised an eyebrow. Care to elaborate, Specialist? My father was Marine Recon. Every hunting trip, every shooting lesson was conducted like a military operation. He'd wake me before dawn, make me hike miles in freezing conditions, then quiz me on wind patterns while my fingers were too numb to feel the trigger. If I missed, we didn't eat. She met Wheeler's gaze steadily. It may not be combat, Master Sergeant, but I know pressure. A small smile tugged at Wheeler's mouth. Fair enough, but this mission has other complications. 60-hour insertion hike through mountain terrain. Limited supplies, hostile territory. Can you handle that? I grew up in Wyoming backcountry, Sophia replied. I've spent more nights under stars and under roofs. I can handle the hike. Captain Harris interrupted. She wouldn't be here if we had doubts. Wheeler, She's been cleared at the highest levels. Wheeler nodded, seemingly satisfied, then unexpectedly extended his hand to Sophia. Looking forward to seeing you work, Carter. That shot at Desert Eagle? Legendary. The ice broken. The team spent the remainder of the flight reviewing mission details, contingency plans, and extraction protocols. Sophia absorbed everything, asking precise questions about terrain, weather conditions, and visibility factors. 36 hours later, the team was deep in mountain territory, navigating treacherous passes and narrow trails. The extreme elevation made breathing difficult, but Sophia kept pace with the seasoned operators, never complaining, never slowing them down. On the third day, they reached their designated observation point, a sheltered outcropping with a clear line of sight to Volkov's compound, exactly 2,850 meters away. Perfect timing, Harris whispered, checking his watch. Intel says Volkov arrives in 3 hours. We set up now, confirm position, then wait. While the rest of the team established security and communications, Wheeler and Sophia prepared the shooting position. The specially modified rifle, a negative 22 Malawian Quach's advanced sniper rifle with custom ammunition, was assembled with meticulous care. Wind's going to be your biggest challenge, Wheeler observed, studying the valley through his spotting scope. See how it's swirling through those 3 peaks? Creates a funnel effect. Completely unpredictable by standard calculation methods. Sophia studied the pattern. Not unpredictable, just complex. Look at the tree movement on those slopes. There's a pattern, a 3-part oscillation. Wind hits the north face, rebounds to the east slope, then cycles back through the center. Wheeler stared at her, then back through his scope. I'll be damned. You're right. He shook his head in admiration. Your father taught you well. He did, Sophia agreed softly. This reminds me of the Teton Valley back home. Similar wind patterns in spring. As the hours passed, tension mounted. Intelligence confirmed Volkov's arrival. The team watched through high-powered optics as the arms dealer moved about his compound, always surrounded by guards, always in motion. We need him still for at least 5 seconds, Wheeler muttered, and preferably near a window. Captain Harris's voice came through their comms. Intel update. Volkov has scheduled a video call in his office in exactly 17 minutes. That's our window. His office has bulletproof glass. Wheeler reminded them. Not at the joints, Sophia countered, having studied the structural details. If you stand in front of the east window, there's a vulnerable seam where the panels meet. Wheeler nodded. Good eye. But that's going to make an already impossible shot even tougher. You'll need to thread a needle at nearly 3 kilometers. Just give me the wind data, Sophia replied, her focus narrowing to the task at hand. The minutes ticked by with excruciating slowness. Finally, movement in the compound. Volkov entered his office, flanked by bodyguards. The team watched as he dismissed the guards, closed the door, and moved to his desk, perfectly positioned in front of the east window. Target acquired, Wheeler whispered. Wind is variable. Currently 12 knots from the northwest, shifting to northeast every 40 to 50 seconds. Sophia made minute adjustments to her scope. Her breathing slowed, her heartbeat steadied. The world contracted until only she, the rifle, and the target existed. Breathe. Squeeze. Follow through, she whispered, her father's mantra. She waited, watching the wind indicators, feeling the subtle shifts in air pressure. Then, at precisely the right moment in the wind cycle, she squeezed the trigger. The rifle bucked against her shoulder. Through her scope, she watched as the bullet traveled an enormous distance, a journey that seemed to take forever. Then impact. Volkov collapsed. Mission accomplished. Target down, Wheeler confirmed, his voice tinged with awe. Clean shot. Right through the seam, just as planned. Within minutes, the team was breaking down their position, preparing for rapid extraction. As Sophia disassembled her rifle, Wheeler placed a hand on her shoulder. That shot, at that distance, through those wind conditions, hitting a target the size of a playing card. That wasn't just skill. That was art. Captain Harris's voice crackled over the comm. Extraction in 15 minutes. Mission accomplished. Well done, Sierra team. As they moved out, Sophia felt a strange mix of emotions, pride in her skill, sadness for taking a life, and a deep certainty that her father would have understood both. 3 days later, back on U.S. soil, Sophia found herself once again in Colonel Davis's office at Fort Bragg. This time, Richard Keller sat beside the colonel, a thick folder in his hands. Operation Mountain Shadow was complete success, Keller said without preamble. Your shot has already become legendary within certain circles, Specialist Carter. Colonel Davis smiled. What he means is, you've impressed some very important people. Keller slid the folder across the desk. This is a formal invitation to join Task Force Sierra as a permanent operator. Full classification clearance, specialized training and deployment with the best precision teams in the world. Sophia opened the folder, skimming the contents with growing amazement. This wasn't just a transfer. This was entry into a world her father had only hinted at, a world where the most elite operators took on the most impossible missions. There's one more thing, Keller added. Given your performance, we've expedited your promotion. Congratulations, Sergeant Carter. As Sophia left the office with her new orders, she found Brooks waiting in the hallway. Heard you were back, he said with a grin. Also heard rumors about what you did out there. He gestured to the folder in her hands. Task Force Sierra. Huh? Moving up in the world. News travels fast, Sophia observed. Only the impressive news. Brooks extended his hand. Your father will be proud, Sergeant Carter. As they shook hands, Sophia felt a sense of completion, a circle closing. From the little girl learning to shoot in Wyoming's mountains, to the underestimated recruit at Desert Eagle, to now, Sergeant Sophia Carter, elite operator with Task Force Sierra. And somewhere, she was certain, Sergeant Davis was hearing about her promotion and seething with regret for the day he dismissed her as just a girl with a clipboard. 1 year later, Fort Bragg, North Carolina, Specialized Training Division headquarters. Sergeant Sophia Carter stood at the front of a classroom filled with 30 elite snipers from various military branches. Her demonstration on complex wind pattern recognition had just concluded, leaving the room in stunned silence. Questions? She asked, surveying the faces of operators with years, sometimes decades more experience than her. A grizzled Navy SEAL in the back raised his hand. With all due respect, Sergeant, what you're describing seems impossible. Reading thermal layers at that distance requires equipment, not just eyesight. Sophia nodded, having expected skepticism. That's what I thought too, until my father showed me what to look for. It's not about seeing the actual heat. It's about recognizing how it affects visible elements. Dust movement, light refraction, vegetation response. Before the SEAL could respond, the classroom door opened. The students immediately snapped to attention as General Mitchell entered. The commanding officer of Joint Special Operations Command himself. As you were, he said, moving to stand beside Sophia. I see Sergeant Carter is sharing her rather unique skill set with you all. Consider yourselves privileged. What she's teaching isn't in any manual because, quite frankly, no one else can do what she does. The general surveyed the room. 3 operations in the past year required shots that our computer models deemed impossible. Sergeant Carter completed all 3 successfully. That's why her techniques are now mandatory training for all advanced sniper units. He turned to Sophia. Carry on, Sergeant. I just stopped by to deliver some news in person. As the general left, Sophia continued her presentation with renewed authority. The skepticism had vanished, replaced by intense focus as battle-hardened operators scrambled to absorb every detail she shared. After class, Sophia found General Mitchell waiting in the corridor. "Walk with me, Sergeant," he said. As they moved through the building, the general spoke quietly. "The president has taken a personal interest in your accomplishments, Carter. Not just the operational aspects, but what you represent, the changing face of our special operations capabilities." Sophia maintained her professional demeanor despite her surprise. "I'm just doing my job, sir." With unprecedented results, Mitchell countered. "Your shot at Desert Eagle was just the beginning. Since then, you've redefined what's possible in long-range precision operations." They stopped at a window overlooking the training grounds where new recruits were running an obstacle course. "Next month, we're hosting an international special operations competition. The best marksmen from allied nations, British SAS, Australian SASR, Canadian JTF-2, Israeli Sayeret Matkal. The president wants you to represent the United States." Sophia absorbed this information, understanding its significance. This wouldn't be just about shooting. It would be a statement. A woman representing America against the world's elite male operators. "There's more," Mitchell continued. "Sergeant Major Williams is retiring. His position as head instructor at the Advanced Sniper School needs to be filled. Your name is at the top of the list." "Sir, I'm honored, but I'm still relatively junior in rank for such a position." Mitchell smiled slightly. "Which is why you're being promoted. Captain Carter has a nice ring to it, don't you think?" Before Sophia could process this, Mitchell's aide approached with a phone. "Urgent call from CENTCOM, sir." As the general stepped away to take the call, Sophia gazed out at the training grounds, thinking about the journey that had brought her here. From being dismissed and underestimated at Desert Eagle to now potentially becoming Captain Carter, head instructor at the most elite sniper school in the world, personally recognized by the president. Her thoughts were interrupted by the general's return. His expression had changed, now deadly serious. "Plans change, Carter. I need you on a transport in 60 minutes. Critical situation developing overseas. I can't give details here, but this one's at the highest level." "I understand, sir. I'll be ready." As Sophia hurried to gather her gear, her phone buzzed with a notification. It was from an anonymous military account, a news clip from Desert Eagle Testing Facility. The headline read, "Former instructor demoted after investigation reveals pattern of discrimination." The article detailed how Sergeant Davis, following his reassignment to Fort Stewart, had been the subject of a comprehensive investigation that uncovered a history of discriminatory behavior toward female personnel. His recent application to return to Desert Eagle as a senior instructor had been denied, and he had been further demoted to corporal. The final paragraph quoted an unnamed senior officer. "The days of judging soldiers by anything other than their performance and character are over in today's military." Sophia allowed herself a small smile before tucking her phone away. Justice had a way of completing its cycle, even if it took time. 90 minutes later, she was airborne, headed toward a classified location with a new mission. Another impossible shot that only she could make. Another opportunity to prove that what mattered wasn't gender but skill, not appearance but ability. As the transport plane carried her toward her next challenge, Sophia thought about all the young women who would follow her, who would face their own Sergeant Devises, their own doubters and detractors. She hoped her story would give them strength, show them that barriers existed to be broken, that ceilings existed to be shattered. 2 weeks later, after successfully completing her classified mission, Captain Sophia Carter stood on a ceremonial platform at Fort Bragg. General Mitchell pinned the new rank insignia to her uniform while the president himself watched via secure video link. "Captain Carter, The president said after the ceremony. Your country is proud of you, not just for what you've accomplished, but for what you represent. Excellence that transcends old boundaries and limitations. As the event concluded, a young female private approached Sophia hesitantly. Captain Carter, I just wanted to say, you're the reason I enlisted. I saw a news story about you breaking the record at Desert Eagle, and I thought, if she can do it, maybe I can too. Sophia looked at the young soldier, saw in her the same determination, the same fire she had carried to Desert Eagle that fateful day. What's your name, Private? Jennifer Collins, ma'am. Well, Private Collins, let me tell you something my father told me. The only limitations that matter are the ones you accept. She smiled, and I don't accept many. As Sophia walked away, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from Staff Sergeant Brooks at the AMU. You're not going to believe this. They're naming the new long-distance range at Desert Eagle after your father. The Timothy Carter Precision Facility. Full circle, Sophia thought. From a daughter learning her father's skills in the mountains of Wyoming to a legacy that would inspire generations of marksmen to come. That night, alone in her quarters, Sophia opened a small wooden box she kept with her always. Inside was her father's dog tag and a faded photograph of them together on a Wyoming ridgeline, rifles in hand, matching smiles on their faces. We did it, Dad, she whispered. We showed them all. Outside, the stars shone down on Fort Bragg, the same stars that had guided her through mountain missions, the same stars her father had taught her to navigate by. Different viewpoints, but the same unchanging lights, bearing witness to a journey that had only just begun. For Captain Sophia Carter, once dismissed as just a girl with a clipboard, the impossible was just another target waiting to be hit.